This is the best friend you never knew you needed, the ROG Ally. ASUS ROG strongly touts that this is better than the Stream Deck. It's more powerful, more compact, it offers more frames and more bang for your buck. Make sure to check out our comparison with the Steam Deck once that's out. In this video, we'll be going over all the juicy specs that includes the two configurations it comes in, with AMD pushing their all-new Ryzen Z1 and Z1 Extreme processors. Both have a 7-inch 1080p display that runs at 120Hz in a 16:9 aspect ratio. We'll get into it later on. We'll go over quick specs before we get into my early impressions of it. Again, the ROG Ally comes in two configurations, which are the AMD Ryzen Z1 and Z1 Extreme processors. We have the ROG Ally with the Z1 Extreme chip, so we will be talking about that. The Ryzen Z1 Extreme config has Zen 4, 8-core and 16 threads, 24M cache, and CPU clocks up to 5.1 GHz. Into the GPU, both the Z1 and Z1 Extreme configs have AMD Radeon RDNA 3 and 4GB RAM capacity, but the differences start at the T-flop values, amount of CUs, and of course, GPU clock. Memory-wise, we have 16GB LPDDR5, 6400 MHz dual channel onboard memory. For storage, the Z1 runs M.2 NVMe 2230 Gen 4x4 SSD, 256GB and 512GB for the Z1 Extreme. You can expand on that storage with a microSD card, as the Ally has that slot available. And this has Windows 11 for its OS. It runs just like any other PC, but it does feel kind of clunky because you do have to navigate using its touchscreen and on-screen keyboard to launch other launchers or apps other than Armoury. You can use the analog sticks and buttons, but it's easier if you just use the touchscreen to click on what you need. So far, this hasn't hindered my experience at all. Here are the specs for the display. Again, it is a 7-inch 1080p 120Hz 16:9 display with adaptive sync, wide color gamut sRGB 100% and a 7ms response time with a maximum brightness of 500 nits. It also has Gorilla Glass Corning DXC coating, which helps reduce incident light if you're gaming on the go, which basically means you don't have to blast the brightness when you're outside. Now onto the console itself. It's 608 grams, which is pretty lightweight. It has two fans and two front-facing speakers that provide virtual 5.1 to Dolby Atmos surround sound, and supports high-res audio and two-way AI noise cancellation, which filters out any background noises from incoming and outgoing audio during voice chats. Fans are pretty quiet. Air gets sucked in from the back here and out the vents up top. For ports, we have a ROG XG mobile interface and USB-C combo port, a 3.5mm audio jack, and a micro SD card slot. This ROG XG mobile interface combo is compatible with the XG Mobile, where essentially you're plugging in an RTX 4090 and will turn this Ally into a crazy gaming station with just a connection. It's sold separately, of course. Buttons and sticks. It pretty much has a layout similar to an Xbox controller, XYAB buttons, your analog sticks, D-pad, R and L buttons from 1 to 3, and also two macro buttons at the back of the device. You also have 4 buttons for menus, a command center button to customize your bindings, a view button, a menu button, and a dedicated Armoury crate button. Before I forget, there is a volume button, and the power button also acts as a fingerprint sensor. Now, before we continue, this channel is supported by brands who help us improve our content and keep us going, so stay around for this sponsored message.
If you're looking for a laptop that does it all, gaming, streaming, and content creation, then look no further than the ROG Zephyrus M16, the first 16-inch laptop with an anime matrix LED array so you can showcase your inner geek to the world. Featuring a 16:10 aspect ratio QHD Pantone validated ROG Nebula display, this display not only looks great but also offers unprecedented performance thanks to its 240Hz refresh rate and 3 milliseconds response time. With all that power comes a full width heatsink supported by ROG Intelligent Cooling with tri-fan technology to keep the laptop cool while intense gaming or heavy workloads. For more details, check out asus.com.
Now, at the time of recording, we do not have a price for both devices yet, but ASUS has said it will be competitive to the Steam Deck starting price of US $400. Playing on this is definitely a bit comfier than the Steam Deck because it is lighter and its corners kind of aim downwards, so you can really dig your palms to get a firm grip on the front without having to worry about hitting the touchpads that the Steam Deck has, and you won't be covering the speakers. The back is a different story, however. I have huge hands, so it doesn't sit as comfortably, but so far as a whole, I haven't felt my fingers or hands cramp out in any way. My muscle memory for Xbox controllers kicks in, and navigating the buttons and sticks will feel like any other Xbox controller. I can perform on any FPS pretty decently off the bat, but with a bit more adjustments, it will be flawless. Throw any game with this and you will have a great time. Can't beat the mouse and keyboard experience, of course, but it really is solid as is. But what really surprised me, and I think many others, is how quiet the fans are. The Steam Deck is much louder than the ROG Ally when you're playing demanding games like Darktide or Cyberpunk. The fans go off like a plane, and you would have to crank up the volume if you're playing without jacking in an earpiece or having earbuds on. The Ally doesn't have that issue, even if you bump it into turbo mode for the same games, which puts this way ahead of the Steam Deck. You can also hit higher frame rates much more comfortably because this is definitely more powerful than the Steam Deck because of the latest and greatest from AMD. The Ally's display is great at 16:9, which fits most games, so you won't get the black bars you'd see with the 16:10 screen. The audio is actually pretty good, even at the highest level, without any distortion so far. So you're safe if you want to blast them, but of course for not too long. The colors are really good, they aren't oversaturated, and when you bump up the brightness, you don't lose much quality. ROG's Armoury Create integration with Windows 11 is okay. And for those that don't know, Armoury Create is a gaming hub/launcher where you can launch games and apps alike. You can also configure ROG-centric settings and widgets. Note that the Ally is not necessarily a console, it's more of a portable gaming PC with Windows 11 on it that has Armoury Create integration and not the other way around. The Steam Deck is a console and you enter big picture and its UI, and only after some tweaking can you use the deck as a PC. You can of course download other launchers like EA, Epic Games, and of course Steam, which is already on here. But of course the device as a whole lacks a true integration with Steam's UI or just any launcher's UI. So it's not a particularly smooth experience, but it does work alright. It does take a couple tries to let the games recognize the Ally's controller, but once it does, you're set. So the product is a little finicky in its early stages. There are also 3 modes: Silent, which runs the fans quiet, Performance, which balances out the Ally, and Turbo mode, which pushes the Ally to perform at its best. Essentially, low, medium, and high performance settings. For my final thoughts so far, there is a lot to take in with the ROG Ally. We'll be taking a more in-depth look with this soon and compare it with the Steam Deck. But ASUS is really giving Valve a run for their money and is looking to be an extremely fierce competitor given how much more powerful its CPU and GPU is, and its obviously much better display. It really is an experience just having this compact, lightweight, and handsome looking console that embodies the saying, walk softly and carry a big gun. And boy, is it silent and deadly for its competitors. Oh. But the question that tops off the rest, would you get it? Let me know in the comments below and make sure to follow us on all of our socials right here to keep up with the latest news we put out. And if you like what you're seeing, hit the like and subscribe buttons. It goes a long way in helping the channel out. If you want to see more stuff, check this out.